Hey everybody. Even though it is definitely not a great time to be going into short positions, I wanted to go through my bear pin, which is 88 symbols deep, and I've worked out the math nice and easy. It's going to do 4 videos of 22 symbols each, and I will say a few remarks about each symbol as we go through them. Of these 88, I'm only in 14 right now, which shows how, not quite sure what word to use, but how suboptimal it is right now to be into short positions. Otherwise, I'd be in a bunch more of them. And I'll almost certainly mention those that I am in as I go through them, just to be clear. Those that I'm not in are either way far away from being interesting to kind of on the fence. But as deep, I read, I think we're down, out of the past 12 weeks, the Dow's been down 11 of them, which has never happened ever, which is pretty cool to be bandying about historic things that are in their bearish favor instead of the bullish favor. It wasn't that long ago when it was like lifetime high this, lifetime high that, but now it's just going the other direction. So let's go through these. As I said, there'll be 4 videos of 22 each, and I'll just say a few words about each one. These will be in alphabetical order, and I've made a nice big fat watermark of the ticker symbol in the middle of the screen. Here's Alcoa, which is a nice big head and shoulders pattern, and I would mention that in so many of these cases you're going to find what I guess we can just call, for a conversation, gap 1 and gap 2, which was the gap 1 was formed between the 10th and the 13th, and gap 2 was formed between the 9th and the 10th. And frankly, getting up to gap 2 makes things, I think, very interesting. So you're going to see those gap pairs in quite a few places. Here's AAP. And as always, and as we go through, I'll probably just tidy this up myself with things that might be missing. That's part of this process that helps me out. But this is, you're going to see, as I say, double gaps all over the place. Here's Old Apple. That's an important one. Remember, we talked about this channel, and I made a big deal about it. When it broke the channel, that would be it. Well, that was definitely true. Look at what happened after we broke down right along here. Things really started cooking, and there's our double gap. I always think this is a cute ticker symbol. Aww. And this is one that just kind of never stopped being weak. I would also mention that quite a few of these have lousy options markets. Just 30% spreads, just terrible. But they're cool charts nonetheless. This is one I took profits on Friday. Of all these, I haven't got a single one that I'm in position on yet. This is a good example of just how oversold things are. I'd be much more interested in Autodesk at the $194 level as opposed to the $167 level it's at right now. Alaska Airlines, Ally Financial, another wonderful trade that I'm out of. This just went into this whole series of lower lows and lower highs, and this one might not get past its first gap. That's a tough row to hoe. And there's the second. AMD. And it's so funny because Kramer today, I don't watch the man, but I watch his Twitter feed, and he was bemoaning the fact that AMD's going down, but it should be going up. For someone who makes $5 million a year, that is the most amateurish thing I've ever heard anybody say. Just sort of whining that why isn't it going the way it's supposed to go? But this one, I think, would be a good gap play if it fought back there. And these aren't huge moves, but percentage-wise, they're meaningful. So that's 94.25, and we're at 81.54 now. I'm not going to do the math in my head. Let's just fire up the old calculator here. What did I say it was? Did I say 94.25? Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm embarrassed now because you're watching me flux around. And we're at 81.54. Okay, so you can see that sealing that gap would be a 15% rise from here. That's a lot. 15% is a lot. but it would be just such an appealing trade if it renewed itself to that level. There's Affiliated Managers Group. Kind of a weird color choice there. And another instance of just how deeply things sold off. Okay, finally, after all these symbols, this is finally one that I'm actually still in, Ameriprise Financial. And I'd mention as an aside, you remember how I used to talk about how September was the closest one? I literally have like only one of those left. My average days left for options, I think it's like 165 or 170. It's really big. So I've got a crazy amount of time on these things. But unfortunately, bid-ask spreads on these are pretty poor. And so even if this thing kind of fights its way back up, I'm just going to bear with it because I don't want to get it in and out again. It's just not worth the bother. It's just it's so expensive to get in the first place for a lot of these. So this is the first of the 14 I'm still hanging on to. Amazon's a great example of what a big bounce would look like, because look how far it fell. It's like this W thing going on. We went plunging and recovered, and it peaked not that long ago, only 11 days ago. Seems like a lifetime ago, around 129, and it got down to about 100. So imagine that it lost over 20% of its value in just a few days. But I could easily see this fighting its way back up to that zone. I mean, that would be perfect. This trend line up here, just imagine this fighting its way back, and that itself would be about a 20% plus gain, zoop, all the way up, and exhaust itself there, late this month. I'm just, I'm thinking out loud here how ideal it would be to sort of peak around Independence Day, which is one federal holiday from now, and then have things start going all squirrely as we go into earnings season. Doesn't that make a lot of narrative sense? That let's just daydream like things get better in Europe and Ukraine, and there's more optimism, there's more buying. People go into the BTFD mode again. So just imagine a rally over the next, let's call it 3 weeks, and then it sort of exhausts itself. And as we head into earnings, it's like one crappy report after another crappy report after another crappy report, and people start pooing all over the place. Just a thought. And if I'm right on that, I will not remember this video and won't be able to trumpet it and say, boy, look what I said. But I just go on record and just say it now. Here's AON. I bet I pick up the pace. I don't like these going past 10 minutes. Here's the second one that I'm long. I mean, not long, have puts on. This is Apache APA. And Energy, of course, had a wonderful down move. And I may be overstaying my welcome a bit here. But as I said before, these aren't great options. I'd rather just stick with them. And who knows, it might even break that uptrend. So I'm sticking with the APA. Aramark. Way down from where it'd be interesting, way down. AXS, this is Axis Capital Holdings. Bank of America. Look how hard that sold off. Here's another one that I'm still in, Bank of Montreal. I did a special post for my premium members about this today. Boot, Barn Holdings. I'm in this one too. So we've got AMP, APA, BMO, and Boot. Those are the 4 so far that I've actually got positions on still. Burlington Stores, got to that one long ago, and it's breaking down pretty nice. Blackstone, I'm in this one. This is the 5th one I'm in, even though it could certainly recover, but same rationale as described earlier. And finally, Cheesecake Factory, took profits on this. Nice, just really finally started breaking down, but would be a lot more appealing, in this zone up here. So those are the first 22 with 5 specific items that I'm still in.